Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another City Skylines Let's Play. We are back in Bayview Heights. So, our mayor, Ryan Fitzpatrick, is upset at our city planner, Frank Sinclair. He left an open parcel open around the lake, and he wants that filled in before we build any of our downtown area. So we took a poll and we talked to our citizens in my City Skylines YouTube channel poll, and the best idea was that a park with a museum would be part of this parcel, and that's exactly what we wanted to fill in. But first, I want to get into, as the City Skylines channel just created a Discord, guys. If you want to check it out, please, it will be pinned, comment below a link to the Discord. Okay. So after that, we have Frank Sinclair, and he wanted to design and build a museum in this area just as Ryan Fitzpatrick, our mayor, wanted. So the very first thing I did was I leveled out the land and I leveled out the road to the same exact height. So this way there's not going to be any, height discrepancies, and there's not going to be any issues with placing down buildings. So the next thing I wanted to get into was a road layout for this museum / park area. And I feel like following the contour of the road itself, like you can see that there's a slight movement to it. Like there's a slight little turn to our road itself. So what I wanted to do was I wanted just to follow that road. Now, originally right here, these red roads were one-way bus only roads. And you're gonna see here, they're actually acting very weird, by the way. You can see that it was acting very strange, but we ultimately got it. But when I zoomed out and looked at those darn red roads, they looked absolutely horrendous. I just stared at them for a couple seconds and I was like, all right, let's upgrade these roads with a bike path. We're gonna have a one-way road with a bike path, then we're gonna add a road for a bus lane. And the bus lane in red just did not look good. So I just used the 3-lane one-way road with a bike path. And I ultimately think it looks really good. I was honestly really happy with the way that turned out. So now that we have this layout in place, what we need to do is we need to figure out what we want to actually place in this area. So we're gonna go over here to our museums tab, and that's a part of the City Skylines, it's a part of the, oh my God, I am blanking on the DLC. Oh, campus DLC. Oh my God, Sports Monkey. Jeez, that was crazy. So what I found was another art museum, and we have a couple options in our monuments, but I figured that this art museum, that we could place it on its side and it would still work out really well. Now, in order to place the art museum on, horizontally, I did have to place a road, and then I did have to attach it. Now, the Theaters of Wonders, no, but this art museum, remember, we wanted a museum in this area, and this museum, I think, actually works out really, really well. It fits in really nicely before we hit that interchange. So far, so good. I'm very happy with that. So now that we have that art gallery placed down, we actually need to add a museum, because I told our City Skylines fans, well, other channels that responded, that we needed to add a museum. And I feel like both of these museums worked out really great. They're nothing too expensive, and they do look really cool. They're not gonna be extremely tall buildings, obviously, and they fit in the rural area, and there is a lot of places or forms of transportation that people can actually get there. So now that we have both of those buildings in place, what I wanted to do was I wanted to add a park. Now I'm just gonna disclaimer here, a City Skylines Park Life Park I did not feel like was the best option. So what I wanted to do was, I have these small parks, not I, but everybody that plays City Skylines has these small parks. And these small parks can also be created as a mini destination. And so that's what I did. Now I have both of those parks in place. Now the next thing I'm doing is, here is the new hotels and retreats. Here are some of the parks that come with this new DLC. And I feel like this one right here, it's called the Pond, nope, not the Pond Park, but the second one, not the Tourist Park. No, I was going through a couple of these. By the way, I do voiceovers. So, but finally I chose this one right here. And I really love having that pond between our art museum our art museum and our train museum. And I just feel like it's a really cool park, and there's a pond and water. You can't honestly go wrong with anything. Anytime you add water to your City Skylines game, you honestly can't go wrong with it. So it's called the Old Bridge Park. It's $152. Again, that is part of the new City Skylines Hotel and Retreats DLC. Yeah, how do you like that? That is called adding keywords to your YouTube channel. But okay, so now the question of the day is, now that we have our parks and our museums in place, what are we going to do next? And as anybody who's ever watched my channel, you know that we need parking lots. And now, before you go into like ranting and like making fun of me about these parking lots, now remember, these are museums, so people are coming to visit. So in my mind, my logic is that people are going to need a place to park. So we did add a place to park for those people. And again, remember, those parking lots are considered parks. So we're making this a very entertaining place for citizens to actually visit, which is actually really exciting. So now that we have that in place, we need to add more to the park. Remember, I told people that, hey, we're gonna make this a park. We're gonna make this a park. All right, it is not a City Skylines park, but we're still adding paths to make it a park. And that's actually, I love doing this to our city because it makes it so much more interesting to look at and to work with. And it just makes me excited to add paths and add trees and add detailing. So I'm going to speed this up a tiny bit, and we are going to add the park layout, and we're going to make it, ooh, that's actually good. I like what I did there. That's really, really nice. Anyway, so I'm adding paths, and I'm just making it interesting by adding places where people can cross over and walk, and just making it a little bit more symmetrical. So now let's make our detailing a little bit more interesting. So what I wanted to do is, I love these bushes, and I think many of you know that I love using the prop line tool, and I love to make bushes. And so I'm just doing this one slow, then I'm going to speed up, but I'm going to add to each of these rectangular boxes bushes. Oh my God, that sounds completely inappropriate. Anyway, so let's keep adding these bushes or hedges. They're mainly hedges to our little park. It's not even a park, but to our little build, our little area. But you can see already, we haven't even added trees, that the bushes do make a difference. They actually make this look real. I honestly really, really like it, adding these bushes. So if you are playing vanilla, I'm sorry that you have to add these individually, but if you do play with mods, like, you could see how quickly I literally did all of this detailing, and it didn't take too long. And on top of that, it still looks really, really darn good. So far, so good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to start to add trees with some color. So I do love these purple pinkish trees, and I am going to add them around our build. Now, the reason behind that is, like, I'm filling these in everywhere we put the rectangular squares because, adding some color is nice. You don't want the same green trees all the way around. Like, as you can see here, I start adding those green trees, but like in the actual part of our build, like inside the actual park area itself, like, I feel like adding a different color tree was definitely worth our while. So now here we have some more detailing going on here. Now, what I wanted to do was, I didn't want trees all around it. I did want to do some detailing where I'm actually showing off real detailing. Like before I was using the prop line tool, which, I know that's cheating. So, I was just dragging stuff, but here I actually wanted to show off some of my detailing skills. So you can see here that we have these tables from the City Skylines Pedestrians DLC, and then we also have some of these buildings from the Pedestrian DLC. So what I wanted to do next was I wanted to detail a little area where people can just eat and hang out and not have to worry about, life in general. Now, I don't mean anything depressing like that, but I'm just saying, like, just a part in the park where you can eat something, hang out, and, you know, just not be in a rush. So what I did was I added a couple food stalls and a couple food trucks. Hopefully those food trucks don't get stuck on that gravel, but I honestly think in real life, just disclaimer, in real life, I think they would easily be able to get in and out of these paths. So I think it's somewhat realistic. So I had this idea. So those pergola things that you saw at the top, what I wanted to do was I wanted to build a place to sit. And now I'm looking, looking. I know I'm struggling to find it, but there we go. There is the picnic table that I was looking for. And what we're gonna do is use that line tool again, not that close. We're gonna actually have them spaced out, these tables. It's a little too far for my liking, but if we move it down to about 8.2, 7.3, there you go. That's much better spacing. So I wanted to make sure that I put these in kind of a cool design so they're not the same thing, you know, not like they're not completely grid-like and next to each other basically. Once we had that in place, I wanted to grab the pergolas, and you can see here, I'm grabbing them and I'm like, oh my God, this might actually work. So before I did that, I added them right there and just, oh my God, that looks better than I imagined. So the pergolas, what they do is they provide shade and they take away some of the heat coming from the sun itself. So what I decided my finishing touches was, this could be weird. I'm going to be full on disclaimer. This could be weird, but I did add some artwork. We do have an well, it is a train museum, but we do have an art gallery here also. So having something artsy absolutely makes sense. So I was really happy about that. So overall, guys, here is the end result. So remember, it was completely empty before, and here it is filled in. And you can see at the top where the water is, well, now it's the bottom. We did extend the queue walls to the edge of the corner, so we did lose some land. But anyways, let's get into this build. So this new City Skylines Park from the new DLC, I love it. There's people actually on the bridge, which that's amazing. And you can see here, we have 1 million people in red. Is this like the red and black? Instead of men in black, it's like red and black. But I love people are walking it. I love the trees. I love the ambiance. I just love the area itself. Now, my only issue is with these new City Skylines updated free parking lots is you can see that it's kind of dipped down, and I tried to move them and use the Move It mod to actually place them, and it just didn't work. It honestly, they wouldn't kind of inflate. Like right now, they're kind of dipped down. So I'm gonna have to figure out why that's the case. It also happened over here. So I know that's not necessarily pretty, but again, those parking lots are perfect where they are. They just need to actually work. But overall, the detailing of this area looks phenomenal. Like I love our little food area. It looks amazing. We have people walking by it and, you know, checking it out, hanging out, like really cool, where people can just hang out and just visit our museums. And holy cow, traffic is getting bad, but it ultimately clears up. But still very cool. I did add a couple bus lines over here also, so we do have forms of transportation, and I did add more. Well, I had one too many trees, so I know that the interchange is in the way, but overall, I really do like that, you know, it flows well with what we are doing. And so I was honestly really happy with this build. So please, guys, let me know in the comment section below. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any comments, please let me know. I appreciate you watching. Have a great rest of your day.